They say Manhattan is a city of dreams. But no one tells you about the nightmares that follow you here, that hide behind perfect facades. The Blackwood townhouse loomed before me. 6 stories of old money and new expectations on the Upper East Side. My hands shook as I rang the bell. Minnesota farm girl, playing at belonging in this world of wealth. The housekeeper opened the door, eyeing my Target dress, my single suitcase, my obvious outsider status. Mr. Blackwood is waiting in his home office, where decisions worth millions were made daily. I wasn't prepared for him, for how young he looked, for the sadness in his eyes, for the power he radiated. "Miss Mitchell," he said, standing behind his desk, like a king on his throne, assessing his subject. "Your references are impressive." But his tone suggested doubt. About what wasn't on paper. About what I was hiding. "I love teaching," I said simply, holding his gaze. Despite my racing heart, despite his intensity. "Lily hasn't spoken," he said abruptly, "since her mother died 10 months ago." The pain in his voice made me look twice. At the man behind the money. At the father behind the CEO. "I'd like to meet her," I said. And something shifted. In his expression. In the room's atmosphere. He led me upstairs. Through marble hallways. Past priceless art. To a pink bedroom door. Lily sat by the window. Tiny and perfect. In her designer dress. Looking at nothing. "Lily," he said softly. With such gentleness. It made my heart ache. For them both. She didn't respond. Didn't turn. Didn't acknowledge our existence. I moved slowly. Sitting near her. Not too close. Not too far. "I like your view," I said. Not expecting response. Just offering presence. And patience. She turned slightly. Just a fraction. But enough. To give me hope. "The trees remind me of home." I continued softly. "In Minnesota. Where everything's green." Another slight turn. A flicker of interest. In those sad eyes. That had seen too much. I told her about my farm. About apple trees. About fresh snow. About simple things. Ethan watched from the door. As his daughter turned fully around. For the first time in months. I didn't push. Didn't expect. Didn't demand. Just shared. When I stood to leave. She reached out. One tiny hand. Touching my skirt. The room froze. As Ethan inhaled sharply. As hope flickered. In that marble mansion. "You're hired," he said. Voice rough with emotion. As Lily held my skirt. Like an anchor. I should have been happy. Should have felt triumph. Should have celebrated. Instead, I felt fear. Because they didn't know. About the headlines back home. About the accusations. About why I'd really left. The housekeeper showed me my room. Bigger than my apartment. With a view of the park. And my past behind me. But pasts have a way. Of catching up. Of destroying presence. Of ruin. Name futures. I pushed the thoughts away, focusing on Lily, on her need, on her trust. The first weeks were quiet, establishing routines, building trust, creating safety. Lily followed me everywhere, silent but present, watching everything, learning to trust again. Ethan worked late, coming home after dinner to kiss his daughter with guilty eyes, until the night he came early, finding us in the kitchen, making cookies, breaking rules. Lily had flour on her nose, a almost smile on her lips, as we shaped dough into imperfect stars. He stood in the doorway, watching us, with something like wonder in his tired eyes. "Daddy," Lily whispered, her first word in 10 months, making time stop. The cookie sheet clattered as Ethan moved, sweeping his daughter up into his arms. I slipped out, giving them privacy, as tears fell, for moments lost. But he found me later, on the balcony, where I hid my own tears of different pain. "Thank you," he said simply, standing too close, smelling of power and vulnerability. I nodded, not trusting words, not trusting myself. With his gratitude, with his presence. "Join us for dinner tomorrow?" Not really a question, but not quite a command. From a man used to both. I should have said no. Should have maintained distance. Should have remembered my place. Instead, I said yes. Starting something I couldn't control, couldn't escape. That dinner changed everything. As Lily spoke again, as Ethan smiled, as walls crumbled, between upstairs and downstairs, between employer and employee, between past and present, between right and wrong. The dinners became routine. 3 nights a week. When Ethan came home early, when we pretended to be family, Lily bloomed like a flower, words returning slowly, smile appearing more, trust building daily. But Victoria Blackwood arrived, like winter frost, killing tender growth, with society's expectations. "A nanny at dinner?" Her voice dripped disdain, as she surveyed the table, our comfortable scene. Ethan straightened, CEO mask sliding back, as his mother claimed her rightful place. "Lily needs consistency," he said firmly. But the warmth was gone. The walls back up. Victoria's eyes narrowed, taking in my Target dress, my Minnesota manners, my obvious unsuitability. "We must maintain standards," she announced, like pronouncing sentence on my execution. Lily's hand found mine, under the table, as her grandmother rewrote our rules. The dinners stopped. Society events began. Proper nannies don't dine with their employers. But Ethan rebelled quietly, coming to the kitchen after his mother left, seeking what we'd lost. "Tell me about Minnesota," he'd say, sitting on counters, like a boy, not a CEO. I told him about farms, about real things, about life without pretense, about truth, He told me about London, where he'd met his wife. About Oven loss. About empty wealth. We grew closer in darkness. When the house slept. When masks fell away. When truth emerged. Until the night. He touched my face, wiping cookie flour from my cheek. Time stopped. As his hand lingered. As my heart raced. As lines blurred. We can't, I whispered. But didn't move away. From his touch. From his warmth. Why not? He asked. Voice rough with want. With need. With possibility. Because of Lily. Because of Victoria. Because of my past. Because of everything. But I couldn't say. Couldn't explain. Couldn't risk. What we'd built. He stepped back. Understanding nothing. And everything. In my silence. The next day brought chaos. As Victoria arrived. With a society magazine. And cold triumph. Explain this, she demanded. Throwing it down. Headlines screaming. About my past. Teacher accused of abuse. Small town scandal. Questions unanswered. My nightmare returned. Ethan's face hardened. As he read. As he learned. What I'd hidden. Get out, Victoria ordered. But Ethan raised his hand. Silencing her. Looking at me. Explain, he said quietly. Not quite believing. Not quite doubting. Just waiting. So I told them. About the troubled student. Who'd made accusations. When I'd reported his behavior. About his powerful parents. Who'd believed him. About the investigation. That cleared me too late. About my ruined career. My destroyed reputation. My escape to New York. My need for a fresh start. Victoria scoffed. But Ethan watched me. With those eyes that saw. Too much. Why didn't you tell me? He asked finally. Voice gentle. Understanding dawning. Would you have hired me? If you'd known? Would anyone? The truth hurt. He moved then. Past his mother's protests. To stand before me. Close enough to touch. I believe you, he said. 3 words. That changed everything. That healed something. Victoria left in fury. Promises of consequences. Of society's judgment. Of family shame. But Ethan stayed. As Lily appeared. Taking my hand. Choosing sides. We're not done, he said. To his mother's back. To the world. To the past. That night, he found me packing. In my beautiful room. Ready to run. Again. Stay, he said. One word. That held everything. I wanted to believe. Your mother. Doesn't control this. Doesn't control me. Not anymore. His hand found mine. Warm and strong. Making promises. Without words. We'll fight this. He promised. Together. Making me believe. Victoria declared war the next morning. Society blogs exploded. With hints and allegations. With my past exposed. Blackwood heir's questionable choice. Nanny's dark secret. Society scandal brewing. making history repeat. But this time was different. This time I had Ethan standing beside me, fighting back. His lawyers moved swiftly, sending cease and desist letters, threatening lawsuits, protecting us all. Lily refused to leave my side, as if sensing danger. To her newfound voice, to her fragile happiness, the other mothers whispered. At school pickup, drawing their children away from the accused. But Ethan stood firm. At board meetings, at society functions, at every challenge. She's family now, he'd say, making my heart stop, making me believe in second chances, until my past caught up in the form of Jeremy Phillips, the student who'd lied, now wanting truth. He came to the house, past security, past protection, to find me. I'm sorry, he said, standing in our kitchen, where happiness had grown, where truth would emerge. I lied back then, because I was scared, because they made me, because I was wrong. Ethan found us there, as Jeremy confessed, as years of pain finally ended. The press conference was simple. Jeremy telling truth, his parents silent. My name cleared. Victoria watched from her townhouse, as her scandal backfired, as society turned, as truth won. But victory felt hollow, until that night, when Ethan came home, with determination in his eyes. Enough hiding, he said, taking my hand, in his office, where it all began. Enough pretending. We're more than this. More than employer and nanny. More than scandal and solution. His kiss tasted like freedom. Like truth. Like everything we'd been fighting for. Lily found us there, smiling her full smile. Finally complete. Finally whole. Family, she said. Her newest word. Her surest truth. Her greatest gift. Victoria came around slowly. As society accepted. As love proved stronger than old money rules. We married in Minnesota. Among apple trees. And honest things. And real love. They say Manhattan is a city of dreams. But sometimes nightmares turn into healing. Turn into hope. Turn into love. That builds families. From broken pieces into something stronger. End.